Hey there, happy Sunday there to me, Curiosity Trader. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Hopefully you had a great trading week. Just going to go over the trades this past week, not that many, and some setups I'm watching for next week. Again, all these are just for educational only. Don't take nothing as advice, alright? Y'all should know by now I'm doing this to track my journey to become an elite trader, alrighty? But first and foremost, again, I always say, focus on themes, follow the money, and if you're just getting started out, you have to really understand where the money's flowing. And I always recommend you using different platforms. I use FinViz. As you can see here, the relative performance in overall sectors. What you really want to do is, for instance, like technology. Take for instance the past month. There's a lot on this scan, right? But what I do is you just narrow it down. You just pretty much filter it down. There's 775, right? But you just focus on the ones that have moved. That's simply it. Because most often than not, those setups on stocks that make a big run, pull back, go sideways, and they have another rally. Okay, and that's the basic thing in my trading, is I don't try to stock pick, I'm not an investor. I'm trying to find momentum plays, like for instance on AAOI. Alright, this has been an absolute killer of a trade, the alpha EP here and had continuation, but look what it does. It always comes back and makes ranges. I call this is really the best play, I think. Delayed EPs off earnings, or earnings EPs, because most times than not, it takes time for them to develop. They're always going to develop tight ranges for good entries to risk to reward, and it's your job as a trader to identify that, And yeah, it's much higher price, but this just goes to show you that you have to follow the money. Like on INTC, we talked about this last week on the channel. Delayed reaction, gap up, let it build a range, 2 days, whatever, and you buy off that range break, Same thing with BE. The energy sector has been going lately, BE being one of them, gap up off earnings. Now we're in the same type ideal situation, but you always want to put into context the overall move which it has ran. This has gone up from quite a long journey. What is that? That's anyway, almost 1,000%. It's kind of crazy, but always put into context. This is not really. It's not getting overextended because it's making healthy moves. It's not going straight up like a stock, like I'll talk about Acre or ACAN. It's not going straight parabolic. This is an actual healthy move with solid earnings and revenue growth and sales. So it's gonna adjust. Accumulation. You want to focus on the stocks where the big institutions are buying, and most often than not, they leave clues. Success leaves clues, as I say. So that's really my method. I always do. I focus on earnings. I focus on stocks breaking out of flags, or really just let them run, pull back in base and go again. And a great example of that is Atom. We talked about this on the channel. I missed out. 5-star reversion bounce play. 5-star, 5-star. 5-star, 5-star. This is pretty much the basis premise of this, and it's setting up really with F-cell again. I missed it. I missed my initial entry. Now again, with the small account, you kind of have to pick the best ones, and for me, I just focus on the ones with the highest ADR. NVTS, I got shaken out this past week. I got long pretty much at 1540 off this day, this candle right here, and it literally shook me out. It shook me out, and it kind of pissed me off. But because again, I have a cash account right now, so I can't get back in it. It's still a big deal. It happens. It's trading, but the setup's still valid. I'm still watching this. Let it go sideways. Let it base to have this potential range break over these ranges right here. I really don't want this to go like another leg higher. You want it to go sideways and then go. As attracts more buyers. But that's pretty much the same setup as Atom. Atom pretty much did dead on what I wanted it to do. Didn't trade it. It's alright. F-cell I'm watching for next week. Energy play, making this nice high tight flag here. It tried with this exhaustion candle, so that's really a red flag in my opinion. Looks like it's getting weak, but I'm watching it. Could have potential continuation on this one. Really off BE is what I'm watching. Whatever BE does, F-Cell is gonna do, I think. So I'm watching it. Former runner, always look left. Okay. But yeah, ADR's high. Other than that, I'm trying to make this quick because I know like the longer these are, less that watch it. But y'all pretty much understand the premise of my setups. One stock I'm long over the weekend is XNDU. 5-star move, quantum play, ADR is really high. Again, focus on high ADR stocks, 27%. A small account edge, I would call it. Volume is very low. You know, if you have a big account, can't really trade this without moving it, but small account edge. And I'm watching it. I did watch it, 5-star. Again, with this setup, you know, I try to buy it right as it's breaking out of the ranges. I don't try to anticipate. That's one thing I'm working on, is sometimes I buy it and it shakes me out, so I'm letting it break out, then hold the levels, and then get long, risking off that prior high. And that's pretty much what I did. You know, I let it break out of this pivot point, and I got long pretty much off this dip right here. 3250 is my average. The ideal entry would have been here, but like this would have like shook me out, you know. I waited and I got long 3250, and this is a swing trade. Yeah, I mean I could have took profits, but I'm thinking bigger picture here. Bigger picture is the idea, but you see the basic premise of this setup. You know, you let the stock make a big move. You know, it's linearity. Make a big move, go sideways for a couple of days, whatever, and you have that clean range break. You may be wondering, why didn't you buy it here? Or even, this was a nice bounce day, right? But the fact that it's holding up for multiple days shows me that this wants to go higher. And that's the basic premise on this. And someone made a great point on Twitter that this stock looks very similar to a play. I'm not sure, I gotta find it. And he was pretty much dead on. You know, I'm not saying this is what it's gonna do, the stock, but success always, most often than not, you know, patterns repeat. But pretty much he was saying 9, the same move it did, and it's true. You know, 9 was the same exact premise, and it went to the freaking high of 40. I'm not saying that this is gonna do that, you know, but it's just patterns never change. This is the basic premise right here. That's what I'm talking about here. Patterns never change, you know. Same premise. I'm not saying that like XNDU is going to do that. It's just one of those entry points. And I've been kind of on a losing streak. So like, one thing about me is like I lose a lot. Like my win rate's like 30%, 35%. But often than not, my winners are always going to be larger than my wins. My wins are very small. I mean, my wins are very large in comparison to my losses. You know, like this whole week I lost, but they're very small, you know. And obviously I'm trading in the simulator, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's just something else. But the point is, to be an elite trader, you have to maximize your gains and minimize your losses. And I understand that often I get stopped out, but often than not, the pattern still works out, and that's something I'm working on. I'm like, it takes time to execute it, you know. Like there's no reason why in BTS would have been a great trade, you know, but my stop was low of day and $15, and the low of day was really, it didn't hit low of day. There's no reason for me to sell on that one, so that's just something that, for instance, I'm working on. But yeah, that's really all. But the main watches for next week is XNDU continuation. Watch over that daily level, 42. Let's see here, make this quick. Other than that, I have some other ones I'm watching. Really F-Cell I'm watching for potential $14 break on that one. As well, these metal themes, UMY, USAR. I think these have potential. The daily charts are beautiful. Look left. UMY is the top one to watch. USAR as well. But UMY has clear overhead resistance over this level, and it has gone before. Spikeability is key. So I'm watching that one over really 12 1250, and I do like how it's basing here. It's making some ranges. LAC as well, metal theme play I'm watching. But out of the bunch, I like UMOI better. ADR is high. It's the highest out of them, so I'm watching that one. Other than that, AGPU is kind of a bounce play. I'm watching a version off the $6 level. That's a different type of strategy. Other than that, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Just main things for next week is just trading less. I've been kind of over trading, trying to make things up, and just understand like you have to, for this month of May, you know, that's my main goal. Is when I watch this video at the end of the month, I want to say I took less trades, but I focus on high quality setups. You know, like this setup right here is textbook. Okay, textbook. And ACAN, I think. This is a textbook mean reversion short. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's a different type of strategy, which I'm tracking right now. But I do plan on, this is probably the best short selling pattern, but I'm not going to confuse you. But it's pretty much you wait for the trend change, you know, the gap down, risk flow, high of day as risk. But yeah, that's the main goal of the month of May, just to focus on high quality moves. And yeah, just go from there. But other than that, I wish y'all the best, happy trading, and I'll see y'all next time.